What's going on, paranormal world? Before I start this video, I have a whole playlist dedicated to the Warrens' paranormal cases, exposing them and sharing a different perspective on all their paranormal cases. And I've done the Annabelle doll, the Amityville house, and the Enfield poltergeist. So if you like that type of stuff, check out my channel and catch up on those videos before you watch this one. So, one of, if not the most mainstream paranormal case in America might be the one case of the Conjuring house. Many disturbing incidents and paranormal occurrences have happened there, and Ed and Lorraine Warren were at the forefront of this case. But of course, whenever the Warrens are involved, something is always wrong. And this case is notorious with the pop culture. It even brought new life into the horror genre. In the movie The Conjuring that came out in 2013, it terrified many people and often referred to as a new age classic. But the family actually involved in the case said the movie didn't really describe the real horrific trauma that the family went through. Basically, some of the family members said that they scaled back the movie tremendously. I personally don't believe that, but that's neither here or there. So, the Conjuring case. This case began back in 1971. The Perrin family purchased this huge 14-bedroom farmhouse, and it's located in Rhode Island. And by the way, don't y'all find it very, very odd that most of the Warrens' cases take place very close to where the Warrens live? Like, there's no huntings in the South or the West. I don't know. But anyway, the family purchased this home. Carolyn and Roger, the mother and father, seemed like to be good people and good parents, just like the normal family raising their 5 kids. But when you're buying a used home or a property, it's important to know the history of that property. And almost immediately after moving in, Carolyn began to notice strange occurrences, such as small objects being moved and placed in other areas, scratching and scraping sounds coming from the kitchen, and she also found dirt particles on a clean kitchen floor after she would clean the floor specifically, and then she would come back in the kitchen and dirt will be all in the kitchen, like somebody is just tracking mud on purpose. So that's kind of eerie and strange. But with all that happening on the daily, and that's when Carolyn took it upon herself to research the house, assuming that something paranormal was going on. Anyway, the farmhouse was the home of 8 generations of the same family, so you can only imagine what has happened in that house. However, it's plenty of spirits I'm sure that roamed that house in previous generations. But this woman spirit, who was known as Bathsheba, terrorized the family immensely. And the backstory of Bathsheba started in the mid-1800s. During those times, Bathsheba was accused of being a Satanist, and many believed that she was involved in the murder of a child, I guess for a sacrifice of some sort. But anyway, the Perrin family are putting 2 and 2 together, and they thought that Bathsheba was the spirit hunting the house. And Bathsheba probably felt threatened by Carolyn being the motherly figure and the glue that kept everything together. And it came to a point where Carolyn was possessed and levitated in mid-air during this whole process before the house was investigated. And it's no secret that evil spirits are territorial, and it just seems like the Perrin family bought the wrong house at the wrong time. Notice I said wrong time, because in nowadays, the house is still claimed to be haunted, and that's highly debatable. I mean, of course the Conjuring house is probably haunted. I mean, you probably can get a couple of EVPs, but no one is getting possessed and no one is getting levitated to that sort. I mean, I haven't heard anything, have y'all? Many paranormal researchers have took on the task of spending the night in the Conjuring house. The Ghost Adventures crew visited the house back in 2019 for a Halloween special. And the visit to the house was a little bit underwhelming to say the least. And they captured a couple of things, but nothing seriously compelling. And actually, other paranormal researchers have investigated the Conjuring house this past Halloween. Nick Groff and Tony Sparrow are some of the researchers involved. And speaking of Tony Sparrow, let's talk about some of his family. So let's talk about the Warrens. How did the Warrens help this family? Let's start off by saying that the Warrens have stated that they were the first investigators to investigate this Perrin family property. Well, let me mention this. in the Ghost Adventure special like 2 years ago, the real investigators who investigated the home first was kicked to the curb by the Warrens. And I'm not going to blame this on Lorraine Warren, but I do think that Ed Warren kicked them out passive aggressively. That's just me. And it really shouldn't be a shock to anyone. I mean, Ed Warren seemed to have a big ego. And if you go back and listen to those Secrets of the Supernatural interviews, you can tell that he loved to control everything. For goodness sake, he would never let Lorraine Warren talk. I mean, every time she would talk, he would cut her off. And I don't know, I didn't like that. It was very rude. But from the outside looking in, it was just like a situation only speak if spoken to. That's how I felt like he treated Lorraine Warren. But anyway, back to Ed. Isn't that something? Kicking the first ones to investigate the home out the house, telling them that they have no experience and that they don't know what they're doing. You know, that's just plain out disrespectful on a man-to-man level, but on a paranormal researcher's level as well. Because for all we know, they could have helped you gather evidence, but I get it. You wanted to kick them out because they were witnesses. And you don't want nobody, telling your lies to the public. I get that. And really, if I was those paranormal investigators, I would have been like, who do you think you are? Like, you a self-proclaimed demonologist. Anybody can say that. So Ed, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just got a bad vibe about him. But I also find it strange, like I mentioned earlier, that most of the Warrens' investigations only took place like 100 miles from their house. Like, how convenient is that? I will say this though. I'm 99% sure that this house is haunted, but not to the extent that the Warrens explained. I mean, they was explaining all kind of crazy stuff, and I understand that they was trying to get a book deal because any place they visited, they did a book deal and they tried to do a little movie deal. So you know how things go with the Warrens. It's a formula. They go into a house and they make things seem more haunted than what they are, and then they get the media involved. And next thing you know, a book comes out, contracts come out, and then, I mean, it's just a whole lot of stuff going on with the Warrens. But the thing that I don't understand is how come in this new era, with more technology, more witnesses, and more ways to find the paranormal, no one is hearing about people being levitated, possessed by real demonic forces, and all that other stuff. So what exactly is going on in today's time? How come it's always these 100-year-old stories that's always so haunted? It's almost, if not worse stuff going on in today's time than it was back in the day. How come we don't hear about 2021 hauntings or exaggerated stories like the Warrens have been doing? I guess paranormal hauntings only qualify if your house was built in the 1700s or 1800s. I don't know, that's how I feel. I mean, because look at it. Look at all this violence going on in today's time. All these crazy murders and all this. It's just a whole lot of stuff going on. And I can only imagine the bottled up paranormal activity that's supposed to be happening on these properties or places that this violence is happening. But we don't hear about it. And we don't hear about paranormal occurrences. People being possessed and stuff like that. I don't know. I just don't get it. And we have the technology to capture all of this. So, look at me going on a tangent. I'm sorry about that. But overall, it's just been a lot of controversy surrounding this Conjuring story along with the Warrens. But some of the Perrin family have came out and legally documented that said that the whole thing was fake. And I guess they came out of frustration because they didn't get a piece of the pie when the Conjuring movie came out, because that was a real big hit at the box office. And when money and contracts are involved, the truth will come out to expose somebody. But anyway, what do you all think about this Conjuring house being haunted? Do you think the Perrin family was realistic about the events that occurred on the property? How do you feel about Bathsheba and the history of the property? And like I said, 8 generations of family, there is bound to be someone hunting that house. Oh, and make sure you comment down below and tell me how you feel about Ed and Lorraine Warren kicking those paranormal researchers out of the Conjuring house and claiming that they didn't know what they was doing. I feel like that was disrespectful. How do y'all feel about that? So, if you like anything paranormal, anything horror movie related, make sure you subscribe to my channel. If you like my content, hit that notification button so you can see every time I upload. As always, be safe. Peace.